Good afternoon, Joe Victor with Allendale Incorporated, the closing commentary for Thursday, March 25th. And of course, looking at primarily crop estimates coming out, not only for prospective plantings, but also for the quarterly grain stocks. New estimates come out anywhere from 24 to 26 advisory services out there. And of course, should mention, Allendale will be conducting its third consecutive webinar on Monday at the Chicago Board of Trade, and of course will be one of two panelists when it comes out on USDA Report Day, March 31st. Most of what we saw today, analyst estimates coming out in essentially telling us what we already know, and that is that the wheat usage is very poor, soybean usage is very strong, and corn, even usage is looking at second best ever. As far as acreage, looking at corn acres, Allendale, and that is a farmer-driven survey that we conducted, released to you on the 19th. That is suggesting that we're looking at the second highest acreage on record for corn acres going into 2010. Looking at price projections, something that I would point to you, make sure that you're taking a good hard look at, and that is price projections not only for December corn, but also as well as November soybeans, and take a look at that, those price projections and what that actually means to you as far as budgetary. Right now is not the time to be locking in budgetary prices, and of course looking for primarily 60% planted in the corn, 60% planted in the soybeans. And when does that happen? Typically the 5-year average tells us by the middle of May for corn, and about a week later to a week and a half later for soybeans. And of course, that is something that you need to remain cognizant of, and that is, of course, price projections as we get into the springtime planting. That is something that the market was talking about today, perception versus reality. And the perception out there right now is the weather couldn't be better for springtime planting. However, when we take a look at the 2-week maps, suggesting cooler, wetter conditions for primarily into the northwestern Corn Belt. Not a good situation, especially for anybody within that northwestern Corn Belt region. But again, have to step aside, let the 100-car unit freight train go through, and of course understand there is a difference between perception and reality. And of course, along with that, USDA reports. So I do want to mention that, of course, we will have a hogs and pigs report coming out this Friday at 2 o'clock. And of course, trade not looking for any major surprises, but primarily from a supply standpoint, we understand, Allendale, we'd ask you to make sure that you're taking a look at the morning and the afternoon readings. And of course, that is demand. Demand is just not showing up as strong as what we'd anticipated, or what the industry has anticipated. We did see hog futures down today. The fat cattle basically came out with more of a neutral type tone today, even though the feeders continue to struggle onward and upward. But again, end of month, end of quarter, and of course end of March, but also end of the first quarter for 2010. And profit taking is a word that was strongly used, of course, not only in the grains, but also in the lean hogs as well. Point out to you, make sure that you are reading both the afternoon and evening editions of the Allendale Advisory Report for trade ideas as well as hedging opportunities that present themselves. Of course, that is for the grains and or livestock. Make sure you're checking out the trade recommendations for the softs as well as energy market. Energy's down a little bit right now. Dollar's a little bit higher. Precious metals basically unchanged. But again, make sure you take a look at that special report that we did release on yesterday. And that's in the free articles section. Of course, there is a great deal between perception and what is reality. There is no correlation, is what Allendale is essentially saying. But you also have to remember that there is perception. It is being traded. This is Joe Victor with a closing commentary for Thursday, March 25th. Any questions or comments, feel free to give us a call. The number is 800-2-MARKET. That's 1-800-262-7538. Thank you, and we'll see you again.